You know, for some people, the beef industry calls to mind a certain kind of image. One of the faceless rancher, overworking his land and his cattle with nothing on his mind but the bottom line, much less going green. But in fact, you've got to talk to the real people to get the real story. And when you do, you find that it's those who work the land year after year that care the most for it. In fact, how the beef industry impacts the environment affects what you and I eat, and that's why it's so important.
You can't go many places these days without being reminded to go green. But for many of us, protecting the environment is something we do when it's convenient or when we remember to. But for America's cattle farmers and ranchers, it's a daily responsibility, and going green is more of a way of life. And it's a life that ranchers like Gary Vogt gladly embrace. Gary was good enough to give these city boys their first look inside a working cattle ranch.
So Gary, tell me about this area right here. What exactly goes on in this particular...
This is basically our calving area and winter feed area.
So this is like the maternity ward?
This is maternity ward, and where we get to look at them every day and feed them once a day. The design of this is that it all slopes to a catch basin over there so that all the runoff is controlled. We don't waste any manure. We save all the manure and put that on the farm. And we don't waste any water. That nutrient-rich water also goes back on the pasture, and the grasses take up the nutrients, so nothing leaves the farm.
After we got the go-ahead from Gary's guard dogs and made our way through the aptly named Man Pass, where no cow has gone before, we got out to the pastures to get a handle on what cattle eat and the differences in feeding cattle grass and grain.
Explain to me about the different things that they eat, because there's grass, there's grain, you mentioned corn. How do you decide what to feed them?
Well, first of all, they're a grass-based animal. This farm, we're grass farmers. That's the main part. And it's only the last 90 days or so that after they've reached their size that we start feeding them corn to make the meat tender and juicy and to put the last finish on and add the marbling. So, and if you think about it, corn is also grass, so it's all grass. Cattle are herd animals, and there's been a lot of talk about animal rights, that cattle are in feedlots and they're all crowded together. That's the way they like it. If you turn them out in the field, they all stay together. Grass-fed beef is a buzzword in this country. It sounds like a great idea. These are 15 months old. They're ready for slaughter. If I was raising them on pure grass, they would be 3 years old. So it'd take twice as long for the environment, to eat up a lot more open space. Everything's about efficiency in the cattle business. You're trying to get it done as quickly as possible to lessen the imprint on the planet, but still be able to feed people.
Sounds good to me.
A short gator ride to the edge of one of Gary's pastures takes you to a homemade log cabin overlooking a small pond. This area, separated from the grazing land, is maintained as a modest wildlife preserve. Preserves like this one are actually found on a lot of cattle ranches all over the country, where you can spot a variety of indigenous wildlife regardless of the time of day. And while Gary's cabin may look like something out of American antiquity, he reminded us of the huge value placed on modern environmental and agricultural sciences in the beef industry. And he did it all with just a blade of grass.
The nutritional science aspect of what the cows eat, it seems pretty much, paramount to the operation. Can you explain to me, what the difference is between, eating just the pure grass and eating the clover that you plant on purpose for them?
The clover is a magic crop. Clover is a legume. If you have clover in with the grass, clover fixes nitrogen out of the air in nodules in the roots. And that nitrogen is what feeds the grass. So where you would have half a crop with only one, together they add up 1 + 1 = 3 because they serve each other.
Mm-hmm. So once an area is eaten, once an area is essentially used up, you want to get them over to the other pasture at just the right moment. How do you decide when it's time to do that?
We first have to understand how the blade of grass works. Let me show you. The grass comes from the roots and it develops these stems. Now, the cows ate that off. There's about 4 inches of a blade left. That blade represents the solar panel for the plant. And if you eat it all off, you have no solar panel left, then the nutrients have to come out of the roots and it eventually weakens the plant. But if you leave enough, say 4 inches of this, the sunshine will grow on there like a solar battery and grow that back to a foot or 15 inches. And when that's time, the cow goes back in there and we don't let them eat it off too far.
So that means this is something you've got to be monitoring all the time.
Well, I come out every day to make sure we don't overgraze. I mean, there's life lessons there. It's just like spending money. If you spend too far in your resources, you're going to go under. You have to respect the grass.